Hey YouTube, welcome back. This is 13 Moons Homestead and my name is Lynette. If you've been watching my videos for very long, then you know we just bought our homestead here in September and it is currently the last day of January of 2019, and we are working on building up a homestead from the property that we purchased, and this channel is basically about following that journey. But part of that journey is something else you've probably heard me mention, which is that I have a indie dye business. I've mentioned it a few times in different videos, and we even did, or I did, a video about the building on our property that we originally intended to become the dye studio. So now we have some updates, and I want to update you on that, and also just tell you, if you found me through homesteading channels, you may or may not know what an indie dyer is or what we do. And if you're finding me through the fiber arts community, then you know who I am, and you know me as Willamette Valley Wool Company, and even prior to that, Dragon Knits Fiber and Dye Works. So let me give you a little idea what it is that I do. What does it mean to be an indie dyer? So if you don't know what that is, an indie dyer, in my case, means that I dye knitting yarns and spinning wools for the fiber arts community. Knitters, crocheters, weavers all use the yarns, and people who spin will use the wools. I source my bases through wholesale companies. I don't currently work from raw wool because I don't personally have any, and it's just too expensive. I would have to charge too much for the final product if I was sourcing raw wool locally. So let me give you an idea what I do for those of you who may not have a concept at all. I basically take yarn bases like this that are naked. They have no color, and I use several different methods to apply dyes to them to give them color. And these will all work up slightly different ways when you knit or crochet them, or if you weave them, and each way, even with the same yarn, will look different. I do some semi-solids like this too, tonal. This one, I don't know if you can see, yeah, it's kind of catching the sparkle on there. This one has sparkle. And for the fiber that I do, it all starts out kind of like this. This is a braided up section of what's most commonly called roving. It's actually, technically, it's comb top. And I dye it to look kind of like this, or like this. And there are other things I do as part of my fiber arts business too. I take pre-dyed fibers and pre-package them for needle felters. I don't dye those ones because they need to be a really solid color, and I just don't do that. But when I'm doing it, needle felters often need just a tiny, tiny amount of a color, like literally a pinch. So I buy in bulk through wholesalers the different colors, and I put them together in color packs for needle felters. The color packs also can be used by people who have drum carders and want to create carded bats for spinning. I'll show you one of those a little bit later on some of the needle felting packs. And I also sell Spinolution spinning wheels, which you can find them online. I'll put the link down below, spinolution.com. So that's the basic, very most basic idea of what I do. Before we moved here, we were renting a home in another city, and I was also renting a separate studio in an industrial complex. So I had a 1,200 square foot fully functioning studio with the water and the electric that I needed, and I could hook up all of the equipment that I use, because I do this on production level. I was working this business full-time for the 2 years prior to moving here. I don't know if I'll get back up quite to full-time again, but I'm currently kind of stalled because of the situation with the building that we wanted to use as the studio. We had a plumber out. We're doing renovations in the house that we purchased, so we've had a plumber out a couple times to hook some things up for us, and the last time he was out, we asked him to help us figure out how we could run water to that building, and he basically said running water there isn't the problem, it's the drainage away. And in order for there was no drainage there already. In order to run a drain to the septic tank was going to be like more than 10 grand to do it from that building, and we would be torn up across the driveway in the yard for some time. And that's not something we really budgeted for that building. And the other option would be to dig a new septic, which is even more, up to 20 grand or more, just for that building, which is also not what we budgeted for renovating that building and getting it into a usable working condition, because it's an outbuilding. It has no insulation, very little electric. It needs water. It's going to need a fair deal of work, most of which we can do, but you know, we had a total budget for it, and just putting drainage in was going to exceed it. So we're not going to be able to do that for that building, at least not at this point, and probably not in the next 5 years. So then we looked at setting it up in the garage, which is part of the house. This is a split level home, and so it's underneath. And if you've watched my other videos, it's the first thing you see when you drive up the driveway. Technically is the end of the house, and there's the garage at ground level. So then we looked at setting it up in here, and there's also no water and drainage directly into the garage currently. And originally the plumber told us we would have to run a drain from here also. At least it would be on the correct side of the house and not have as far to go, but it was still going to be a very big cost and would tear up the yard, and we would possibly lose fruit trees in the process. So that also wasn't an option. But we just had the plumber back again this last week to hook up to put new valves on for our washing machine. And I had him look again and help me try to troubleshoot where can I have water access, because dyeing takes quite a lot of water, and we reuse it as much as we try to conserve as much as we can, but it does take large quantities of water, and you need really hot and cold running water to do it comfortably at a production level. So I really need a 2 or 3 bay sink and a washing machine hooked up in order to operate the way that I need to. So we looked around and we found where the main is, and we actually did figure out there is one spot in the garage that we can run a drain from back to the main drain, and it's acceptable to do that. It can handle that load, and it's not gonna, it'll cost less than $1,000 instead of, you know, $10,000 to $20,000. So it looks like we've changed our plans, and the dye studio will be in the garage. And that's fine. It's not exactly what I wanted. We had different plans before, but we have plenty of space on this property, and we can do other things with that outbuilding. Probably the things that were going to be in the garage. So at least for the foreseeable future, that's the plan. So maybe a little bit later I'll take you and show you where that's going to be set up. So I'm out in the garage today. It's a little chilly out here. So these are my struggles right now, is trying to get the garage set up to work on dyeing, because I'm also short on electric. So this house needs the electric to be, we need all new panels. The panels that are here, first of all, there's 2 of them, which is a little odd for this size house, and they are both panels that were installed quite a long time ago and have since been recalled. So we're going to have those panels replaced, and we're going to change up the electric so that we have 120, and we're going to install many more outlets in the garage. And I can tell you why when I show you some of the equipment that I use. So that's a little bit about what I do. Let me show you the space that I'm trying to work with right now. So I'm currently standing at the door to the garage where you enter from the house. So you can see there's the big doors in the distance there that go to the driveway. So on this side over here, there's one window and a man door out to the side yard where the orchard is. And what you can't see because it's backlit through those windows and because there's vegetation in the way is the barn would be that direction through that corner. And then out to the left side, if you go out the doors and down the driveway a bit and turn left, would be where the studio building is. And I'll put all the links to those videos in the iCards or down below or at the end of the video. So this gives you a basic idea. I have moved this space around a couple of times now. When we first moved in, we stacked a bunch of stuff in here until we could get bedroom floors replaced, and then we were able to move some things out, and I cleared the whole space out, and I set up my work stuff from my other studio in pretty much the same way that I had it at my studio, thinking that, well, it worked there, it should work here, but this space is a little different, and I don't have water in here yet or acceptable electric, and it's a different shape. So it didn't really work, and then we had to fill stuff in here and store it for a couple of weeks again, and I really could barely use the space at all. So I've tried to actually do this video a couple of times, and I'm just now getting to the point where I'm reclaiming the space. So now I have this basic setup over here that I think will work, but I have some more cleaning up to do, and I still have the electric and water problems, which I'm hoping will be solved in the next couple weeks. But let me turn around and show you this area over here. So we currently have a built-in workbench with cupboards and storage closets built in, and our extra refrigerators down here because the kitchen is being renovated upstairs. And it is currently plugged in because that freezer right there and the one that we have, the tiny, above refrigerator freezer in the kitchenette, is all we have for freezer space. So this refrigerator is currently using one of the 2 circuits in this room, which is a problem for me because I need a circuit for every steamer that I use. So the workbench and these cupboards are all going to be torn out because this wall where the cupboards are is where a washing machine, a dryer, and probably a 2-bay sink. Let me kind of look in there. It goes way back. And close this door. You can see back there to the workbench. So this area is where that will all go. And then this table, which is my mixing table, will come over here where the current workbench is, and hopefully we'll install, there's special vent hoods you can get for mixing powdery chemicals, so hopefully be able to get one of those. And then I should kind of show you my workspace as it is, what I'll have to make do with. Right now my sink is outside. It's just a hose connected to a laundry sink just to bring it up in height for me, a little easier to work with. My mixing table is, in a position where I can use it, but stuff stacked on top of it. Some of my steamers back there still have things in them from when we packed to move. These are the 3 current steamers that I'm able to use, except that they each need to be on their own circuit. They each draw about 1200 watts, and there's only 2 circuits in the whole garage, and one of them, the refrigerator, is on right now, so I can only use one at a time, and that's a problem. Usually for production levels I need to be able to run 10 of these at a time, plus fans, and I need more light. There's not enough light in here. And this cabinet back here is also a steamer cabinet, and it requires 120. And I do some of my dyeing in that cabinet. And then these tables are what I work on when I'm working with yarn in the pans. I use hotel pans like this for several of my yarn and fiber dye application processes, and they go into the top of these steamers. Let me show you here. You put water in the well in the bottom to heat it, and the pan sits in top and the lid on top of that, and it will steam the yarn because dyeing yarn requires a chemical process that includes, for the ones that I use, it includes an acid and heat and time to set with heat. And those same pans also will fit into that cabinet, which unfortunately I can't really get to right now. I'll do a video on that sometime when I can pull it out and open it up. And I can fit 32 pans in that cabinet to steam at the same time. So depending on what process I'm using dictates whether I'm using the cabinet or the tabletop steamers. These are both restaurant equipment. The tabletop steamers are fairly inexpensive, in the scheme of running a business. You have to replace them every couple to a few years depending on how you use them and how much you use them. The steamer is a very large investment purchase. And then we've got fans to run. I need hot water, boiling hot water to mix many of my dyes. There's several chemicals I use, and I'll go over that more in future videos. And then over on the other side is stored a lot of the things that I need to use. So all of the chrome shelf units there have mostly fiber products, and they are wrapped because they, right before we moved, we had shows, and I used them to display. And then let me walk over here and show you the other side. How I can stop in between. This is one of my 2 drum carders. It's an electric drum carder by Brother brand, and for those of you who understand what a drum cutter is, each drum, it can be controlled independently. And this is where I make my carded bats. And then over here, this is a shelf of pre-mixed dyes. This is not every dye color that I have, it's just the ones I use the most often. I choose to mix large batches of 1% dye stock for most of the colors that I use. Some of them don't store well, so I don't pre-mix them. And over here you can see these tubs and the rainbow cart are most of the powder dyes that I own are in those unmixed dyes. These black rolling carts have some of the yarns that I have that are also still ready for display in some cases. In some cases I had to pull some out for a trunk show, so they need to go back up. Right in front here, this is a project I'm working on for a knitwear designer. Special colors for them. More dye jars. And then over on the shelves, some of those boxes have display items. Then there's a bag of yarn. Some of these tubs back there, you can't really see very well, have more bare yarns. This box is full of bare yarns, ready to dye. I don't have the fiber out here. The fiber is filling 2 closets inside the house. So we definitely need to get more organized out here. I will need another space somewhere that will be a dry space, because the drum carter really shouldn't be in a wet space, and I have yarn winders that are large pieces of equipment that aren't even here. They're in storage right now, that need to be set up somewhere. My spinning wheels and the wheels that I sell need to be set up somewhere where people can come and try them. And all of the tagging and labeling and dry work that happens after the yarn is and the fiber is dyed really should go into a dry space. So preferably this garage, when it's put together. We'll have the main wet space on one side and space on the other side for hanging racks to dry wet yarn. And there also will have to be some space, which is over here. The washing machine happens to be sitting there right now, but this space will have probably at least one freezer, if not two, for the house, and potentially the steaming cabinet for yarn will have to be over here. It's a limited size garage, so there's our recalled panels that we need to replace. So it is a insulated garage. There's drywall there. There's insulation behind it. This wall borders interior space in the house, so it's insulated. This wall, I believe, is also insulated, but that door is not. That window is only single pane, and the front overhead doors need to be replaced too. I'm not sure yet if we'll replace them with insulated overhead doors or if we'll just take overhead doors out and make it a window wall, or mostly a solid wall with some French doors. I haven't decided yet, but this room will be heated and cooled because when you're doing production, you're out here for hours and hours, you know, it can be 12 or 14 hours sometimes, and you basically it can't be freezing and it can't be sweltering, or you're not going to get your work done. So this will be heated and cooled, and there will need to be some sort of vent hoods installed wherever. I mainly use the tabletop steamers because they do put off quite a lot of steam. So currently what I have to do is actually open that door and aim fans at it to blow the steam out, which means right now, this time of year, makes it very cold in here, and it means I have to drag extension cords from other places in order to run a fan and run a steamer. So this is very make-do, but we're working on it. I at least got all the furniture moved around into a workable space I think I can work in. There's my pan rack there. So that gives you a basic idea of what I do for my business, and this will, whatever level I decide to keep doing it on, this will be a contributing source of income for our homestead. My husband still works full-time, more than full-time most of the time, and he makes good money, but this was not a cheap property, and we want to pay it down as quickly as we possibly can, so this income will be part of that. I don't currently sell online. I've been saying for years, I'll have a site up soon, but the reality is I just don't know how to make good websites with shopping carts, and I won't use Etsy. So we're working on it is all I can say. You mostly can find my product if you find me at shows in this, fiber art shows in this region, and at a couple of local yarn shops. So I can provide links and more information about that down below. So I just wanted to give you an idea about what my needle felting packs and my carded bats look like. So I make packs like this of wool. In this case I use Corriedale wool. Corriedale is a breed of sheep. And I do 6 of these packs. They each have 4 colors in them, half an ounce of each color, and I do basically right now I have 1 pack for each color of the rainbow. This is the orange pack, yellow, green, blues, and purple. Eventually there will be more of these packs because like the blues are kind of oceany blue greens, and I need to do one with true blues, and I don't have one that has pinks in it yet. The orange one I have is kind of intense oranges. I need to do some that are more pastel-y peach colors. And then I wanted to show you what a carded bat is. You'll see in the video, or you did see in the video, depending on where I place this in the video, my drum carder, and this is a bat that I make on that drum carder. My blended bats, they're about 4 ounces, and they're mixed wools. So what I put into these are any leftover pieces of dyed wool that I have from experiments and projects and stuff I didn't sell, or leftover stuff that I spun and there was some left. And then also some of the pre-dyed wools that I get wholesale, and also add-ins in some of them. So I'll show you when you unroll it how big it is. And it's just a kind of a sheet. You can see how thick it is of blended colors, blended wools. You can blend different kinds of wool together, different colors, to get all kinds of different looks. Primarily these would be used by spinners. They would tear a strip off one side or work across the top. So strip by strip they would spin, or from end to end, or any number of ways you can spin. There's a lot of different ways. So that gives you an idea what a carded bat looks like, at least what my carded bats look like. I do store these things in plastic bags because I live in the Pacific Northwest, and when I travel for fiber shows and trunk shows, all of my product gets put in and out of bags and crates, and in and out of the van or the trailer, and then, you know, in and out of stores and venues. It gets handled a lot, so this protects it from handling, but also from the rain. This is the Pacific Northwest. We have a lot of moisture most of the year. You know, things can get dropped, whatever, so I do put them in plastic bags. But in this case, it's a nice drawstring bag. It can be used for a knitting project or spinning project later. I definitely encourage people to save them. So that gives you an idea about the carded bats and the needle felting wool, or it's just combed top or roving, like the stuff that I dye. So you can spin right from it, or you can use it to make your own carded bats or felting. Either way, and there's more than just needle felting. There's also noodle felting and just regular wet felting, and lots of different ways you can use wool fibers. So now for something a little bit more fun, I have these 2 boxes here that are not opened yet. The one on top is new dyes, and the one on bottom is new yarn. So let me set you up, turn you around, and find my scissors, and we'll do an unboxing for you. Okay, first up we've got a box of brand new dyes. This is always an exciting thing in a dyer's life when you can get some new dye colors in, or even just replace old favorites that you've been using for a long time. I think I have a little bit of both in here. My next project that I'm working on right now, already with existing dyes that I have, but I needed some more, is a collaboration I'm doing with a local yarn shop. They specifically want Oregon color dyes, and also some university specific sports team colors. So I'm working on those for her, and I wanted to get a couple new colors to punch it up. I work with her a lot, and it's just such a fun collaboration because she can give me an inspiration and say run with it, and I can be as creative as I want to be. So let's open these up and see what I got. If you're a new indie dyer looking to get into indie dyeing, and you're looking for resources, or even if you just want to do a little bit of dyeing for yourself at home, I buy all my dyes through Dharma Trading Company. I will link them below. It's the same price for everybody. We don't get a discount as wholesalers unless we actually resell the dyes, and some dyers do, but I don't. So you have access to the same dyes that I'm using. I use Dharma Trading Company's own brand of dyes and Jacquard dyes. I only dye protein fibers. There's different kinds of dyes for different kinds of fibers. I don't do plant-based fibers, at least not yet. That could be part of the future, I'm not sure. but I dye protein fibers. So what I basically need is an acid dye, and you shouldn't let that term scare you. It just means that it needs to be set with an acid and with heat, but the acid that we use is actually not part of the dye, it's something we add, and generally it's food grade vinegar or citric acid, the same stuff that we use in cooking and canning. It's not a strong acid at all. So let's see what we got in here. Some information on new products. They sell much more than dyes. They sell all the chemicals that you need for a variety of types of dyeing, natural dyeing, plant-based or protein-based fiber dyeing, tie-dyeing, all of that stuff. They have all the tools and equipment that you might need for that. Well, not all the equipment, all the basic tools and chemicals and such. This is my packing list. So most of the ones I got this time I think are new colors, so because of that I bought smaller jars. So with the Dharma Trading Company's dyes, these ones happen to be fiber reactive dyes, which generally you use for plant-based fibers, but they will work on wool fibers like 99.9% of the time. And the Dharma's dyes all come in 2-ounce jars, or you can choose, I think it's 8-ounce, 1 pound, 5 pounds, 10 pounds on up. So when I'm trying a new shade, this is their smallest jar, and I get their smallest jar. So in here, this one's got Nightshade, Bama Blue, Timberwolf, Hydrangea. So when you're thinking of colors for Oregon, the inspiration pictures she sent me anyway were kind of coastal, sort of moody, muted, you know, with some sunset, you know, minor stuff in there. Some of these are repeats because I needed just a little bit more. The truffle brown, I already had some of. Maroon, which is a hard one to actually find. Periwinkle, mist gray, sage green, blue gray. Coral pink, firecracker, moose, another coral pink, hummus, grasshopper, dark green, Grecian sea I must have needed more of, Edgewood blue, Muir green, brush steel, parakeet, which I also had some of. Sometimes it's a color that I use more than once, but not extensively, so I only need a little bit. That's all I got this time. Some colors I'll show you another time when I can get to them. I actually buy in 1 pound or 5 pound containers because I use them so much, and they're big jars and buckets. So that is my new little stash of dyes to work with, and now I'll break into my new yarn. I have a bunch of bare yarns already, but the base I sell the most of is my sock base fingering weight yarn. People in the fiber arts community know what that means, and the rest of you, that'll have to be another video, kind of instructional to explain what that means. But I needed more of my sock base, and I'm bringing in, I believe I ordered a new DK weight base. And I needed more of, there's one other thing, we'll find out. This has been sitting here. I currently dye on, I think it's 12 different yarn bases and 16 different wool roving bases. I got my packing slip here, and I got my sock yarn and the new standard DK base that I'm going to carry, and then a fun one. Let me pull it out so you can see. So this supplier anyway. Then when I get my yarn, it comes in packages like this. There's generally 10 skeins in a package. So this is the DK base. It's 100% superwash wool and doesn't look much different from here. This is my soft base, which is a lighter weight. Okay, now this is the fun one. This will be a brand new base for me. I have not done before. It's a DK weight, if I remember right, and it's a tweed. And if you can see on there, the tweed, the little naps are rainbow colors. I am so excited about this one because these little naps here are usually made with nylon, so they are not nylon. It just says colored Donegal. It's made with something that won't dye with the dyes that I'm using. So the yarn base will dye and these little colors will remain the same color that they are, which is very cool. It makes for some really interesting yarns. I've not done a tweed before. Usually you get them and they just have either black or gray specks in them, or sometimes white, but this one I think is going to be fun. I needed another DK weight base. DK weight is often used for children's things, so I'm looking forward to doing some bright colors on these. So this gives you an idea of what I do. It's very, top level overview. This might look like a lot of yarn to you. This is not very much yarn to me. When I am in full operation mode and all my equipment is working, I can bang out 300 skeins in a day if I really need to. For me to stock to do a fiber arts show, I really want to go with 800 skeins or more if I can. Although it's not necessary. If you're just getting into dyeing, you certainly can go to a fiber arts show with much less than that. But that's for me, the way that I dye. I like to have more options, and I'll talk more about that in another video, talking about color and stuff. But this is a small amount for me, but because I'm limited right now, I've literally, I'm used to having 6 tabletop steamers and a cabinet that can hold 32 pans available to me, and right now I have 1 steamer and that's it. So I'm working on small orders and collaborations right now, and depending on my backstock for some of the shows that I'm doing. Luckily I was pre-prepared from last summer because I knew we were going to be moving, so I dyed ahead quite a lot of stuff. So this is what I'm working on right now, is trying to get my studio space in order, which is not going to be in the studio building, at least not for the foreseeable future. It's actually going to be in the garage, so more videos to come in the future. So if I pulled you in from the fiber arts community with this video, welcome. This is the most that I've probably shared because I wasn't doing videos before for Willamette Valley Wool Company, which is the name of my dye business. So I will be sharing more of these kinds of videos here on YouTube as part of my homesteading channel. So if you weren't familiar with my channel before this, our homestead is called 13 Moons Homestead, and I just started this channel a couple months ago, mainly to follow our journey of purchasing this property and turning it into a functioning homestead. But part of that homestead is my business, my dye business, so I will be sharing about that here. It's part of my daily life, and it's part of what brings income to our homestead so we can do the things we need to do here. So welcome in, and I hope you'll stick around. I don't know if you'll care about our renovations and our barn and our garden and the animals that we'll probably get, but I will have dye and fiber arts related videos. I'm hopefully fairly regularly, so hopefully you can stick around at least for those. So definitely hit the subscribe button below. You can hit the bell if you want to be notified anytime I put out a new video. Hit the like button, give me a thumbs up for this video if you liked it. Share it with your friends if you think it's useful for them and they might enjoy it. and comment down below. All of those things help me grow this channel and make it more useful towards our endeavors also. So thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.